So Lexus has a new IS, and this one is a hybrid. Now, I was there in mid-2013 when Lexus Philippines first launched the third generation IS in the Philippine market. Actually, we were on the racetrack at Clark International Speedway, which was unusual because Lexus in the Philippines doesn't usually do that for our market. But that IS was really revolutionary. It was more sporty, was more aggressive, was more enjoyable to drive. The way I see it, that vehicle was really like the first Star Wars movie. It was a new hope. What we want to find out with this model is if it can take that concept to another level. Now, what we want to make clear is that this is not a fourth generation model. Actually, it's still part of generation 3. So when they facelifted the third generation IS back in 2017, well, we thought that would be a generation 3.5. Well, now it's a generation 3.33. This is generation 3.66, I guess. It still runs on the same platform as before, but Lexus did improve on it. This is not a TNGA platform, but yeah, they enhance it with extra welds, extra supports, lighter pieces underneath, so they saved quite a bit of weight, particularly with the suspension of this vehicle. Now, if you look at the front, yes, the look is very different. If you're very familiar with the look of the IS, it kind of lost the split headlamp design that they kept from 2013 up to 2017. This one is more of a one-piece design, and it has a nice, well, arrow detail for the LED. It all kind of drives the focus of the eyes towards that spindle grille, which does look a lot better and a lot bigger compared to before. If you look around the side, yes, they did sculpt the body very differently compared to the this facelift model of the IS. They changed the side mirrors. They have a different detail on the door, on the rear door, particularly on the floor area. They pulled the roofline back. They actually extended this bit to give you, well, I guess more space inside and to give you more of a fastback look for this new look of the IS. But perhaps the most striking feature of the IS is, well, the rear taillights, because it's more of a unibrow design. So, since this is a facelift, well, surprise, surprise, not much has changed with the interior. If you're familiar with the previous IS since 2013, this will look very, very familiar in so many ways, but the steering wheel of the IS is still largely the same, apart from a few trim pieces here and there. It doesn't conform to the new look Lexus steering wheel that we've seen in other models like the new ES or even the LC500. Instead of the rectangular vents on the wings, you've got, well, round vents here now, same with the other side. This center vent has also changed. They put a little piece here, and the clock sits a bit more proud of the dashboard. It actually looks really nice. Now, the multimedia system is actually one of the bigger changes with the IS. Before, it used to sit or rest inside the dashboard itself. Now they've moved it up, so the driver has a nicer view of it. We wish they kind of updated the graphics of it, because it doesn't look as high definition as something you would expect with a vehicle with an L on the grille. So that is something we think they should have really improved on with this model already. But no matter, you've got your energy monitor. You can control your climate control system from right here. You can also do that right here with these really nice capacitive touch panels for the temperature control. Normally, I don't like those kinds of touch panels on a vehicle, but I have to say in this one, it's really, really nice and works really well. This has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but curiously, this is also how you can date this whole vehicle. It's the fact that it still has well, a CD player inside. So normally we don't see those in cars now, but this one still has it. So if you like your optical media, well, good on you. You can bring it with you in the car and store it in the glove compartment, which is actually pretty spacious and can store quite a bit. But normally for us, we use Spotify and iTunes and whatnot. Now, one of the features we really like, of course, are these seat ventilators for the driver and the front passenger seat. It does not have the seat heaters, which are kind of useless in the Philippines, unless you're pranking somebody, which we've done on more than one occasion on many of our long drives. One of the bigger changes here, of course, is this area here. The shifter hasn't changed. It's still the PRND with the sport mode here, with the push to shift up and then pull to shift down. We kind of wish Lexus switched it around because we want it to be pull to shift up and then push to shift down. It's just more natural if you're a gamer. Nevertheless, there it is. So here you have your drive mode selector. So you have Eco, Normal, and Sport. You twist it to be able to go between those many modes, or 3 modes. There was supposed to be a 4th mode, which is a Sport Plus mode for F Sport models. This one does not have it, but it does have EV mode, so you can override the whole thing if you want to. Oh, by the way, when you flick it into Eco mode, the tachometer, it's actually a screen. It changes from, well, the tachometer display to a power meter. So you have charge, eco, and power, depending on how you drive. If you push it to go to normal, it changes back into a tachometer. Pretty neat. So you have EV mode, yes. You have stability control and your snow mode. In our weather, it's kind of pointless because we don't have snow. The closest we have to that kind of driving would be sand. Not that you would bring your IS on sand anyway. And you also have your brake hold mode right here. It's kind of unusual because normally you find those right next to the electronic parking brake, which is over there. So yeah, it's separated. I don't know why. Also, you have that touchpad that Lexus has been known for right here. Home button, menu button, back button, and then another button which is, I don't know what this button does actually. I should have read the manual. But nevertheless, this pretty much covers the functions here. So you can kind of switch from, it kind of controls the cursor on the screen here, which is unusually pointless because before this was necessary because the screen here in the previous IS, or at least the pre-facelift IS, it wasn't a touch screen, but now this one is a touch screen. So it's kind of redundant. So you can kind of just control the whole thing right there, but you can also do it right here. This is actually a big jumbling up of the features of the IS because before this whole thing was right here, and then it had the little armrest here that went up like that. So it gives you an ergonomic control of the whole unit. And then this also, this drive mode selector was here. Personally, I just find it weird that if I have to use this without touching the screen, I have to go like that. So here we are in the back of the Lexus IS. It's actually an all-right place to be in because you've got comfortable seats, you got your own armrest with dual cup holders right here, you got your own AC vents, and yeah, it's pretty comfortable, but don't think of this as a space where it's meant to be enjoyed in. The back seat is not where it's at with the Lexus IS. It's really all about the drive. This is not a vehicle meant to be, for you to be driven in, but rather for you to be driving. If you're looking for something to ride in the back of, then maybe you should be looking at the Lexus ES, not the Lexus IS. Because the Lexus ES is a front-wheel drive vehicle, it does not have this transmission tunnel right here for the prop shaft to drive the rear wheels. Instead, it's more flat there. It gives you more room to move around. Now here's where it gets really weird for the Lexus IS, particularly the 300 hybrid. The trunk space. Yes, the spare tire sits on top of the floorboard, not underneath it. The reason behind that is because this being a hybrid, there is a nickel metal hydride battery right under there. So that's consuming all the space you would have for the spare tire. They've really used a spare tire instead of going the route of, let's say, what BMW did by going for run flats. But as we know, if you use run flats in a vehicle, yes, it would eliminate the need for a spare tire. You would have a tire repair kit, but it would also affect the ride. And in a Lexus, the ride is very, very important. Now, there are still many out there who are still unfamiliar about what hybrid technology is all about, and that's okay. So we'll try to simplify it in this way. What you have is a gas engine or any internal combustion, and then you have an electric drive system combined into one. Now, the way Toyota and Lexus do their hybrids is a parallel hybrid. The operation is actually quite simple. You have an electric motor and a gasoline engine that can both drive the wheels. So either it's the electric motor, either it's the gas engine, or even a combination of both. That's what makes it a parallel hybrid. There are some models that are series hybrids. Those you would find in, let's say, a Nissan e-Power, which we don't have in our market yet, or the PHEV Outlander from Mitsubishi. That is a series hybrid, but it can also function as a parallel hybrid. So what that gives you is the best of both worlds. So at low city speeds, you get the benefit of electric driving, meaning it's quiet, you're not consuming any fuel, and yeah, it's really, really smooth. But when you're driving on the highway at faster speeds, then you get the benefit of more power, more speed. So it gives you, yeah, the best of both worlds with as little of the drawbacks of each. So they kind of cancel each other out. Now, if we're talking about fuel economy outright, don't be surprised if you're getting 16 to 17 kilometers per liter in the IS300H. And mind you, I'm not talking about highway driving, I'm talking about city driving. Yes, those numbers are from our city drive of the IS300H. It's surprising to get that kind of fuel economy in something this luxurious and this heavy, because hybrids tend to be much heavier than their internal combustion only counterparts, because essentially you're carrying two power units with you, the gas power unit and then your electric power unit plus heavy batteries. And mind you, those NIMH batteries in the back, those nickel metal hydride batteries, they're not light. In terms of battery technology, they're already fairly dated. But still, Toyota uses them, and they're using it in a lot of their, pretty much all of their hybrids available in the country. Now, in terms of highway fuel economy, it goes up to 22.3 kilometers per liter. That's what I was getting earlier at an average of about, I think it was 78 kilometers per hour. That is exceptionally good for a vehicle, again, of this size, this kind of luxury, and this kind of weight as well. Just because it's efficient doesn't mean it's not fun. When you flick the drive selector to sport mode, well, now you get the benefit of both electric and gasoline power, but it's not trying to be efficient, it's going to give you more punch. Don't be surprised if you're getting really good speed out of this, really good acceleration. We did a test earlier, a 0 to 100 test. This one did it in 8.73 seconds, 0 to 100. Actually, the international Lexus claim is that this one can do it in 8.7. So yes, it's actually spot on. We can't expect IS350 V6 F Sport numbers or performance figures out of the hybrid. That one has a bit more noise, better handling with the suspension, and a lot of other nice go-fast bits. But if you're looking for a comfortable, everyday, luxury, compact sedan, then this one does fit the bill very well. There are three things, though, that I have to be really critical about with the IS. For one, it's actually the safety features. Yes, I mean, it's got a lot of airbags, got a great traction control system, a great stability control system, and it does come with the Lexus Safety Sense, which is their version of Toyota Safety Sense. But on the highway, I did find the lane tracing assist and the lane departure alert to be a bit too intrusive. It just keeps beeping around a lot, and I wasn't even really going that close to the lines in the lane. That was something I found a bit weird. It's a bit too eager to warn me that I'm getting too close to the lane. Like it panics, like, oh, hey, move back into your lane. I wasn't even anywhere near it. So that was something I found strange. The second is that it does look and feel its age inside. This hasn't been as thoroughly updated as I thought it would have been for this model. I would have thought that Lexus would have put in the newer design steering wheel in this one. That's the one we find in the LC500 as well as the ES350 and their other newer models. The third, and probably the most important, is it's not about how good the Lexus IS is. And it is good. They've really polished it nicely. We like the new look. We thought they can improve the interior. We've already mentioned all of that. But it's not about how it is, but what it is. Or it's a sedan, it's a rear-wheel drive sedan, it's a passenger car. And the market is already moving away from passenger cars, not just in the Philippines, but worldwide. People want taller cars, bigger, more space in the back. They want the ride height, the presence of an SUV, and all that. So car makers, not just Lexus, they're all shifting their attention and their engineering budgets, R&D budgets, to SUVs. That is why Lexus did not try to, come up with an all-new IS because, simply put, it's not worth it. So for them, that's really a shame actually for us, not for them, for us. Because there are a lot of fans of vehicles like the IS. This has a history that goes all the way back to the IS 200 from the late 90s. And even before that, I think the Toyota Alteza. We like this vehicle, but it seems there's not much demand for it anymore in our market and in the world. It's really a shame that car makers are taking their attention away from passenger cars and focusing more on SUVs and crossovers. That is the reason why Lexus did not engineer an all-new IS, and they gave it a very thorough facelift. But at 3.3 million, we can't really complain because this car is good value compared to other models like the 3 Series as well as the Mercedes-Benz C-Class. But let me put it this way. If the 2013 IS, the third generation model, was pretty much a new hope, this one is the Force Awakens. Yes, it looks better, but the story is still the same. This is Vince of AutoIndustriya. If you like this video, please tap that thumbs up. You can also subscribe. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and on Twitter.